Samuel Hahnemann, who wrote the Organon of Medicine, is known by those who attempt to read him as being difficult to decipher for two reasons. One is that his sentences are apt to be very long and need therefore to be deconstructed, pulled apart and deconstructed. And the other is that the thoughts therein contained are very precise. He was not, he wrote that Organon 6 times. So there's an increasing degree of precision as the different editions were rolled out. It's worth paying close attention. So I was going to read to you the first aphorism, especially because I love the footnote. The first aphorism is atypically short. It says, "The physician's highest and only mission is to restore the sick to health, to cure, as it is termed." Which when you first read it sounds obvious. The physician's highest and only, and he does italicize the word only, the physician's highest and only mission is to restore the sick to health, to cure, as it is termed. And when you read it a second time, you go, oh my God, that's a high mission, to restore them to health. The implication is that they were healthy once, that they got sick, and then they can be restored to their former healthy state, which does require a little bit of thought. And Hahnemann has the whole Organon in which to dwell upon these issues. It's not necessarily this simple, unless the issue is in acute. In acutes, this is truly what happens. So the physician is a bit like the body having an acute. They are restored after the sickness to perfect health. That is, if a healthy person gets an acute, is what I mean. They're well, then something happens, usually because of some external circumstance. It could be the influence of weather, for instance. They could be out in a sudden chill for too long and got chilled to the bone, and as a consequence of this, developed an acute. And then after the acute had passed, they would be well again. That kind of thing. So the physician's highest and only mission is to restore the sick to health. Bearing in mind it isn't as simple as an acute. If this is chronic disease, the same applies. They should be able to restore them to health. It's a very high mission. And he does italicize the word only. The only mission is to restore. And then there comes the footnote. This is, as I say, the bit I like, and I'm looking forward to sharing with you. I'm just going to read it. He says, his mission is not, however, to construct so-called systems by interweaving empty speculations and hypotheses concerning the internal essential nature of the vital processes and the mode in which diseases originate in the invisible interior of the organism, whereon so many physicians have hitherto ambitiously wasted their talents and their time. Now, the sentence does continue. This is one of Hahnemann's long sentences. So I thought we'd just unpick the first bit. The mission is not, however, to construct so-called systems by interweaving empty speculations and hypotheses concerning the internal essential nature of the vital processes and the mode in which diseases originate in the invisible interior of the organism. Hahnemann wrote this 200 years ago when such speculation was rife. Today we have it in a slightly modified form because we now believe in science. This is our new religion, and it does look with much greater rigor at what goes on in the internal processes, what they are and how they work. After all, biochemistry tells us much. It's not so idle, the speculation, but it has nothing to say about the vital processes. Not really. It doesn't understand that. Okay, more of this later. Hanuman goes on. He says, whereon so many physicians have hitherto ambitiously wasted their talents and their time. He goes on to say, nor is it to attempt to give countless explanations regarding the phenomena in disease and their proximate cause, which must ever remain concealed, wrapped in unintelligible words and an inflated abstract mode of expression, which should sound very learned in order to astonish the ignorant, whilst sick humanity sighs in vain for aid. Again, I'm not going to unpick that because it's pretty obvious, but what a passionate man Hanuman is. Of such learned reveries, to which the name of theoretic medicine is given, and for which special professional professorships are instituted, we have had quite enough, and it is now high time that all who call themselves physicians should at length cease to deceive suffering humankind with mere talk, and to begin now instead for once to act, that is, to really help and to cure. I will raise my cup to that, that's for sure. Wow, what a guy. I love it when Hanuman is passionate, and you get to see the nature of the man. There is, of course, a downside to this nature, which is so fiery, so intense, and so full of commitment. And that is that others who do not share his view will come into conflict with him. And indeed, his life is characterized by many conflicts. And it wasn't an easy one, although it was very long-lived. He lived to a healthy old age, well into his 90s. Yeah, but this spirit, wow, what a guy. And so let's just look quickly at Aphorism 2. The highest ideal of cure is rapid, gentle, and permanent restoration of the health, or removal and annihilation of the disease in its whole extent, in the shortest, most reliable, and most harmless way, on easily comprehensible principles. Yep, it's a long sentence. Let's unpick it. The highest ideal of cure. Highest ideals. Yeah. We do have them. People do have highest ideals. What would the highest ideal of somebody who is involved in healthcare be? It would be to cure in rapid, gentle, and permanent ways. The rapid, gentle, and permanent restoration of the health. Rapid, gentle, and permanent. Well, we know what rapid means. It means, hey, presto, warp speed. Fast. I am unwell, and now I am well in the shortest possible period of time. Now, I've been practicing homeopathy for a long time, and in acutes we see just this, so magnificently displayed. Rapid. It's amazing. You put the pill on the tongue of the patient, and within moments they feel better. It's not that all the symptoms will have miraculously and instantaneously disappeared. It's that they feel better. You know that something has happened. And that knowledge is at what we would call the vital level. It's the level of the vital force, the dynamis, the dynamo that drives you, the internal energy, which if it's absent, you know that you're losing the battle. And when it's present, you know that you're winning. That happens really quickly. And then that it should be gentle. Now that means without iatrogenic side effects. The drug shouldn't have side effects. It should be gentle. It should just do its work so that you hardly notice it. It's like a whisper rather than a shout or a scream. And so it is. It's amazing how that happens. And that it should be permanent, which means that it doesn't just work for a few days and then you just go back. It doesn't have to be that you have to keep on taking the antibiotics or you will relapse. It should be permanent. In chronic diseases, that can take longer, but in acute diseases, that's obvious. And you can see then the removal and annihilation of the disease in its whole extent. Once again, in acutes, that's exactly what happens. There is a removal and an annihilation of the disease in the shortest, most reliable, and most harmless way, which is a restatement of rapid, gentle, and permanent. Same idea. The final point I'll come to in a moment, which is that it should be on easily comprehensible principles. I'll leave that just for a moment. Just saying the annihilation of the disease should be total, in which case it won't relapse and it will be permanent. The annihilation of the disease should be total. It's a very high ideal, and homeopathy can deliver it. Yeah, especially in acute cases. In chronics, it takes a bit longer. But the same, the chronic shouldn't come back. And if it does, the same medicine can very often be employed again in order to top up the system with the correct vital information. And the return to health will ensue once again. The final point that I said I would return to is on easily comprehensible principles, which means that you can teach how you did it. You can say, these are the principles that are involved, and this is how I administered the medicines and how they work, and how we can find out which ones to use. This is clearly comprehensible, and homeopathy delivers on that. It can be taught. It's not mysterious. It's clear and principled. In fact, this part of homeopathy is completely scientific according to our modern understanding of science. There are other parts that are not so clear, and we will enjoy ourselves speaking about those too by and by. So, thanks for your attention. Thank you very much. It's the Hanuman's Organon of medicine is something that it's good to return to throughout one's career, because you appreciate his genius more and more, the more you can corroborate it by your own experience. You can say those principles were clear, and I got them, and I continue to get them. And thank you very much, Sam, for having given us this gift of homeopathy. It's a great thing. When I'm feeling down about humankind, which I have to admit does occur from time to time, I gain huge solace in appreciating the genius of the human race. Whatever it is, however you do it. I love the music of Bach and Mozart. I think the passion of Beethoven is incredible. The depth of emotional experience of Schubert, the enjoyment and breaking out of boundaries of Stravinsky, the soulful singing of the spiritual singers, the black singers in America, the suffering that comes across, but with such intensity that it moves your soul and you realize you're alive and a human being, and it's good to be part of a gang that do some bad things too, but such wonderful things. And Hanuman's one of that gang of the wonderful, with gifts that are extraordinary for us to work with. Thank you for being part of that, you who are here as students of Samuel Hahnemann. Thank you, Sam, for having given us this gift.